Bowl Sunday is tomorrow. It is day 3 of our Super Bowl extravaganza here at RecorderNews.com. Adam Schinder, Charlie Crable, Paul Antonelli, and Michael Kelly here with you. As today, we've talked about the Ravens, we've talked about the 49ers. Now let's get into brass tacks, talk about what's going to happen Sunday at 6:30 when we finally kick off. Let's start with our X Factors. Give me one X Factor for each team in this game.
Well, I definitely think that one of the X factors for the Ravens is just going to be the emotional lift that they've had since Ray Lewis's return to the team. We've spent the previous two, videos talking about various players on both teams. We really haven't mentioned Ray Rice a whole lot. He's been leading the team in this postseason with 25 tackles. They're clearly a better team, regardless of his production on the field. I think that just the emotional lift he gives that defense is going to be a clear X factor in this game. For the 49ers, you know what? I know that we're going to probably wind up talking a little bit more about the kicking, but that's going to be a major issue for them in this game. David Akers, frankly, has been horrible this season. He's been 29 of 42 from field goals. He's missed one in the playoffs. He turns in that kind of performance against the Ravens. That could be the difference maker in this game.
Yeah, and I'm going to have to agree with Charlie. I think the kicking game is going to determine the winner of this football game. It's going to be an extremely close game. And Akers, like Charlie said, is only made 29 of 42, while Justin Tucker has connected on 30 of 33 for the Ravens, and he's a rookie, and he's really proved to be one of the better kickers in the league. So I think the kicking game is really important, as well as the Jacoby Jones, who's an All-Pro returner for the Ravens. Has scored 3 touchdowns on special teams this year. He's another factor as well, I think, for the Ravens. So both X factors are on special teams.
Mine, they're not guys who play directly against one another, but Randy Moss for the 49ers, Torrey Smith for the Baltimore Ravens. They do it in a little bit of different ways. Randy Moss is more of the pure go route type of receiver. Torrey Smith can do that, but a bit more physical. I think whichever one of those two guys maybe makes that big play that can turn the game, that would be my X factor.
I always love talking about supporting guys who are the second best on their team at what they do and how they can kind of make some moves in the Super Bowl. For the Ravens, if they do get a running game going, I think Bernard Pierce could be very important, the running back out of Temple, because especially if they can get him on the field at the same time as Ray Rice, they can maybe get the 49ers defense going the wrong way. And for San Francisco, offense is Delaney Walker, the second tight end, because I think he gets a more favorable matchup either against the linebacker or against Bernard Pollard in coverage. And I think Kaepernick can use him in some different spots, especially in the red zone. He might be an interesting guy to watch for San Francisco. Now, we got a little bit of time before we get to our predictions, so we'll talk about what has been maybe the overriding storyline of this game. It is the Harbaugh. John Harbaugh's Ravens, Jim Harbaugh's 49ers. Don't say who's better, but just give your perceptions of what is certainly a once in a lifetime so far thing to happen in the NFL.
Well, and I mean, if you talk about feel good, stories in Super Bowl week, this is definitely one of them. I mean, we're talking about two coaches, who are very hard-nosed when it comes to the game plans with their their teams, both on the offensive and defensive sides of the ball. But they're both, generally well respected in the league. They're well respected by their players. You hear so many times about how there's so many teams, especially the bad ones, where there's just not a good connection between coach and players. They're liked in the locker room, but they still command enough authority on the field that I just think it's great to just see these two guys go at it.
Exactly, and I would love to be in a suite with Mr. and Mrs. Harbaugh on Sunday and just kind of observe what's it like to be in the suite cheering for your two sons playing football in the Super Bowl. So it should be an interesting situation.
I think game-wise, what's interesting, these are probably two of the most prepared coaches, kind of to the point of being over-prepared at times. And with both of them going against each other, you have to figure in the NFL, there's nobody that if they would understand and be able to predict what they're going to do better than their brother. I think that first quarter is going to be very interesting to watch because these teams might almost be too prepared to the point where it's gimmicky, where I think we might see some choppy play early.
And you talk about prepared, but you also talk about intense, especially Jim Harbaugh, among the most intense coaches in the NFL. You ever see a call go against his team, or you ever see him lose a challenge, his theatrics on the sideline are a sight to see. But yeah, these two coaches, John, it comes from an interesting spot because he kind of started the trend of guys who were special teams coaches getting a chance in the NFL. Jim really had very little coaching experience at all. Was small college, then he went to Stanford, had a lot of success in a short time at Stanford, and came and has really done a phenomenal job with the San Francisco 49ers. So their dad, Jack Harbaugh, certainly an interesting guy to watch Sunday night. CBS, I'm sure, will have a camera trained on him, and also if he's there, their brother-in-law is Indiana basketball coach Tom Crean. So it's a bit of a coaching family, but that's enough about the coaches. That's enough about some matchups. Who you got, and who's the MVP?
Well, I mean, my head says the 49ers, my heart says the Ravens. I'm actually going to go with Baltimore in this one because I picked them at the beginning of the season. I think that you're going to have a very, very, very well-played game, which will be great for New Orleans because New Orleans does not have a history of producing great Super Bowls. I picked the Ravens 24-20, and my MVP is going to be Joe Flacco.
And I'm picking the Ravens as well. Two reasons. Number one, I believe in John Harbaugh. He's, I think, a better coach coming off a bye week. He's 5-0 when his team is coming off a bye week. And number two, the kicking game for the Ravens. I think that's going to be a big factor. The score is going to be 27-21 Ravens.
I'm going 49ers. I think when you just look at these rosters, I would say the coaching is a wash. The 49ers have more talent. I mean, especially in that defensive front seven that we talked about yesterday. I think that's the difference in the game. 31-20, the MVP is Kaepernick.
I have been vacillating on this for 2 weeks. My head says the 49ers. My gut does say Baltimore. Baltimore is the team that, if anyone believes in a team of destiny, it's certainly Baltimore. They've been living a charmed life for the last couple of weeks. They've also got kind of the recent trend. The last two Super Bowl winners, like Baltimore, teams that had to play in the wild card round, have won 3 weeks. So if you believe that a team gets that 3 weeks of momentum and it really helps them, Baltimore. But I agree with Michael here. I really, really like the San Francisco team. I think, really top to bottom, they've probably been the best team in the NFL the entire season. And I'm taking San Francisco 27-23. And my MVP is going to be Patrick Willis. I think he's going to be an impact player. I think he's the reason that Baltimore's not going to be able to move the ball on the ground. I think maybe he comes up with a play or two. I think he's a guy who could have 15, 18 tackles in this game. And just like the Ravens won Super Bowl 35 when Ray Lewis was the MVP, this time Patrick Willis the MVP. But unlike Ray Lewis, he gets to say he's going to Disney World. That just about sets the table. Super Bowl 47 tomorrow night, I believe 6:37 p.m. kickoff on CBS. That's Channel 6 on Time Warner Cable. So get set, get your wings, get your pizza, get your adult beverages if you're 21 and over. Enjoy very much, and we will see you later. For Charlie Crable, Paul Antonelli, Michael Kelly, I'm Adam Schinder. This has been the Sideline Guys Super Bowl Special here at RecorderNews.com.